What's your top, wow, that actually worked, moment? My friend's dad a couple years ago has an old Windows 2000 computer with a dead hard drive. Normally this wouldn't be an issue as it's an old machine, just get a new one. But unfortunately this hard drive had the only backup copy of some very important family pictures, since the external hard drive they kept important file backups on died a few weeks prior. I went through every troubleshooting step I could think of in order to recover the data, and nothing. As far as I could tell, the drive was completely shot. So in one last desperate attempt, I blew on the connectors and the ports like I was trying to get my NES cartridge to work, flicked the drive with my finger, and gave it a small dramatic speech about needing to stay alive for the family. The freaking thing booted, stayed on long enough for me to grab the files, and then went dead. You know, this is a lesson to everybody. If you've got important pictures on any hard drive, make sure they're backed up online. I half ran a stop sign that got ran a lot. A cop pulled me over. By half ran, I mean I was doing a California slow roll through, and halfway through I saw the cop and stopped. He walks up, asked me if I knew I ran the stop sign. I said yes. Then, I don't know why, but I asked, "May I have your mercy?" He takes a step back, looks a little perplexed, runs my license, comes back, and just says, "Today I am merciful. Stop running stop signs." Let off with a warning. Yeah, there's about 100 different things that people say you should or shouldn't say to a cop when you get pulled over. I mean, as long as you're not being a complete jerk, I think a lot of it just comes down to luck. I got a free watch offer from a decent company I'd bought from before, but you had to spend over $300. I added 4 of the free watches, which were usually $75, into the cart, which registered as $300. I went to checkout, and a green minus $300 appears in the bill. Added my shipping address, and 2 weeks later they came. You'd think that somewhere in that process, somebody would have picked up on that and said, yeah, don't ship these out. But I guess if you're just a low-paid order picker, you don't care. They're not your watches to lose. After hours of trying to repair a broken digital camera, I went to throw it away. I shrugged and dropped it on the linoleum, heard a horrible crack. The motor turned on, making a jackhammer sound before it clicked and became a smooth hum. The camera worked after that. I guess when you have a device that's already technically broken, I mean, what's the worst that could happen if you try to break it more? The first time my wife and I went out to eat with our new baby, he was sitting in a baby seat next to the table, and he started crying. I picked up a salt shaker and set it right in front of him and said, "Watch this." And he looked at the salt and stopped crying. I bet that everyone watching who has a baby right now is going off to try that. The entire grade went on a field trip to a bowling/arcade place to celebrate completing middle school. I was at a claw machine, and I asked my friend to look at the claw from the side to see if it was lined up with the toy I wanted. Just then, a boy from another class walked up and said to me, "You know those are a scam, right?" I was flustered and hit the button to lower the claw without even waiting for my friend to tell me if it was lined up properly. The claw came back up with 2 toys and dropped them in the collection box. The boy was silent for a moment before saying, "That was actually pretty good," and walking away. I'll never be so cool again in my entire life. I mean, these are basically just the kids' version of slot machines, so I mean, you technically can win sometimes, though I'm pretty sure the win rate is even lower than on a slot machine. I was 12 and didn't know how to swim. I wound up in the deep end of the pool with dozens of other people who didn't realize I disappeared underwater. I struggled for a second, then remembered something my childhood friend told me. All you have to do to float is bend over in water. I never had the guts to try this when she told me, but I was about to die, so I just let my body relax and bent over in the water by my waist and floated to the surface, alive. I couldn't believe it was as simple as she said. Yet floating in water is actually a really weird thing when you think about it, because it can be so easy, yet so difficult at the same time. Like, humans both sink and swim. I was flying somewhere. After everyone else was boarded, I went up to the gate agent and asked about being upgraded to first class. After a bunch of typing on her computer, she said sure, and asked how I would like to pay for it. I said, by asking nicely? To my amazement, she gave me a boarding pass for my new first class seat. Yeah, crazy how some employee can just arbitrarily say, "Yeah, we'll give you a few $1,000 upgrade, it's not a big deal." I repair slot machines for a living. One was frozen in game state with well over $1,000 on it. All the doors were closed, no jams in the dollar acceptor or the voucher printers. All the lights were on and the software just stopped mid-spin. I was thinking the game finally died and we need to reimburse the guests for their lost money, which can take a while if it's a ton of money like this. The guest jokingly asked if it just needed its butt kicked to work again, and I figured since this game is old and durable, I'll indulge him. I kicked it and the game came right back up, and the guest proceeded to win another $500 or so from that spin. The game was good for the rest of the day, too. No errors or anything. I played it off as gracefully as I could, but I think that was my life's peak and I'll never look that cool to anybody ever again. You know, I always wish that I could see the inner workings of electronic and mechanical devices when just whacking it causes it to start working again. My sister and I went to a show a while after she'd been going through some really rough times. I wrote the band a letter about her and asked one of their merch guys if he could deliver it to them, hoping they could just give her a shout out during the set or something. About 20 minutes later, I got a phone call from the band's manager saying to go to the side of the stage between the opener and the headliner. And we got to watch the whole show from the side of the stage, and they gave us a VIP meet and greet pass. The bassist came up, and we learned that he was the one who pushed for us to get what we got. He was so nice about everything, and he gave my sister a hug and posed for a photo with her. Yeah, it's pretty cool when big famous people can just reach out and do something cool for their fans, because it usually doesn't take that much for them to pull strings like that. But it makes a huge deal to the people that they do it for. I told this girl in 2nd grade I was a psychic, just a troll, and she didn't believe me, of course. So she asked me to predict something. I said, "You're going to scream right now." And as she was saying, "That's dumb. Why would I?" A kindergartner playing tag randomly fell and rolled back into her legs, and she screamed. She was really scared of me after that. Here, let me try to get a psychic reading too. I think that you are going to hit the like button, and then you're going to continue watching to the end of this video. I decided on a whim to make some peanut sauce. Peanut butter, soy sauce, a little water, and it was looking close, but kind of clotting when I stopped stirring. I randomly remembered that vanilla goes in cookies and stuff because it helps stuff mix. So I added a dash of vanilla, and the sauce instantly comes together. Felt like a mad genius. Yeah, okay, but what is peanut sauce exactly used for? That does not sound like a good combination. Trying to unclog your toilet without a plunger. Poured some fabric softener in there just to see if it would help, and it cleared right up almost immediately. A little kid I was babysitting put a ton of toilet paper in and clogged the toilet. I couldn't find a plunger, and I figured maybe it would soften the paper up and clear the block, as I remembered hearing about dish soap helping break down the fats in poop and helping to clear clogs. I poured it in, walked away to put the softener back, and walked back to the bathroom to hear a large glug and a totally clear toilet. Well, that seems like a pretty decent life hack for anybody looking for one, but to be honest, I don't even think I've seen a clogged toilet in at least 6 or 7 years. My buddy was having a bad weekend, and we were next day buzzed at our college's cafeteria. We load up on tater tots and pizza and other state school level brunch items. He's bumming, so I say, "Hey man, see her over there? Cute, right?" Sure. "Okay, well I'm gonna go hit on her. Be back in a sec." I have no game with women. I am nothing to look at. I smelled like Jaeger and Marlboro Lights. I think I was wearing sweatpants and a button-up shirt, for some reason. I'm not convinced I'd ever hit on anyone before. It isn't me. The entire premise was that she would throw her drink on my face, or be horrified, and I would walk away laughing, and my buddy would get a laugh out of my hilarious public rejection. Anyway, when I got there, I didn't know what to do, so we just talked. I sorta knew the girl she was with. I sort of addressed her, then flirted with her cute blonde friend. Nothing happened. I walked back to my table. Anyway, the cute blonde friend and I had a class that semester, and with the ice broken, I just talked to her like a non-retarded person. We've been married a decade now and have 2 kids. It was 1000% supposed to be a joke. So it didn't work, but I mean, it sort of worked. Well, hey, if talking to girls is so scary for you and all you have to do is play it off like it's a joke and that helps you go through with it, then by all means go jokingly hit on all the girls you want. Fans on my old MacBook had stopped working. I searched on YouTube for a fix and found a video that said, "Sometimes there can be lint or dust clogging up in the spinning mechanisms. A good thumping can get them back in order." The guy in the video proceeded to hammer the computer with his fists and the fan came back on. I shrugged, gave it a shot, and to my surprise, they hummed back to life, and I was back in business. Still can't believe it. Yeah, it's always kind of mind-blowing when you can fix like a digital problem on your computer by doing something to it physically. Like when my dad came and asked why his computer's so slow, I told him he should turn it off more than once a year. And now it seems to be working a little better. I went to check into a hotel, and I asked him if there was a parking fee. He replied with a yes, it's $15 a night. I asked, any chance you could waive it? He replied with, yeah, sure. I was like, okay, thanks. Save me $60. Yeah, the service industry is so weird like that because, I mean, when it comes to an actual product that they already spent money on, it's going to be hard for them to just be like, yeah, here's a thing for free, even though we've already paid for it. But when it comes for like just service fees and stuff like that, they're just like, yeah, I mean, I suppose we don't have to charge. It's a lot easier to waive fees like that. This was a very long time ago. I needed a C+ to graduate and didn't attend the final. So I went in and just told him I wanted a B- to graduate, hoping he would let me retake it or at least negotiate to the point where I could make it a C+. So he tells me, sure, have a great summer. Yeah, I think a lot of teachers do this kind of thing because it's a whole lot more work to them if they fail students. I think that it involves them having to deal with upper management. I had teachers in the past who were kind of like that too, where I was just like, I don't need the credit for this class, I'll just fail it, I don't really care. And then they just give you a bunch of free points for stuff you didn't do because they don't want too many people failing the class. The brakes on my crappy SUV went completely out one day, so instead of paying for a tow truck, my dad decided to connect my car to his pickup truck with a big chain. My car in front, dad in back, and had me drive to the mechanic shop. My car would still accelerate just fine, just no brakes whatsoever, so we called each other on our cell phones, and every time I needed to slow down or stop, I'd tell him and he'd hit the brakes on the pickup, which would either slow my car or yank it stopped if he did it too abruptly. It was completely stupid, illegal, and definitely dangerous, but we got there just fine, and didn't have to drop $100 on a tow truck. So, it worked? Yeah man, tow trucks are kinda stupid expensive. I had to pay $80 just to get my car towed 2 blocks away. But I did actually have a story just like this, maybe about 7 years ago, when my car died when I was up in the mountains. It wasn't technically dead, but it had blown like a head gasket, and it would overheat within like 5 minutes of driving. And this was in the winter. But basically the way we got it home was we would drive it up to speed, be going downhill because we're up in the mountains, and then as we're driving, just put it in neutral and turn off the car while we're going down the highway at like 65 miles an hour. So that was kind of a terrifying experience, you know, driving in a car that's not even turned on. My terrible sleep pattern is linked to my mental health. A few months ago, I told myself I'd had to be in bed by 10 and not to touch my phone. I could stay awake and fantasize or stare at the ceiling as long as I wanted, but I had to be in bed. And it worked. I've been slipping the past few weeks, but it did wonders for my mental health. Even went from not leaving my room to getting a part-time volunteer position, and I'm doing good at it. I mean, let's be honest, we'd probably all be better off without our phones. Hi, I'm Gandhi, and if Britain doesn't get the heck out of India, I'm going to starve myself. Yeah, I don't really understand how hunger strikes ever do anything. It's like, if you don't give me what I want, I'm just gonna hurt myself. Okay, you go ahead and do that. When I was about 11 and computer monitors were all just becoming flat screen, we bought a crappy little LCD. Just my luck, the plug didn't have a third pin and short-circuited within a week of getting it. The monitor's colors were all messed up, flickering between distorted random colors, and outright all becoming one solid color, then going back. This happened momentarily every few minutes. My parents refused to buy me a new one because I broke my new monitor. It wasn't my fault. So being the bored kid I just did my best to use it anyway. I remembered it so very clearly. I was playing Warhawk, and the screen blacked out right before a firefight and got me killed. I was like, alright, if my parents won't buy me a new one since this one is half working, so I'll just break it completely. Without a second thought, I punched it in the center right then and there. This fixed the monitor. There was a discoloration around where I punched it and a line through the middle, but no more random colors, no more flickering. A few years later, I got a new monitor, and my dad was going to take my old one. I moved it from my computer to his, and when I first set it up, the colors were all messed up. I told him I knew how to fix it. I punched it again, expecting it to break. They all looked at me like I was insane and asked what the heck I was doing. It worked. It still works. 12 years later, and he's still using the same monitor with the line going through it where I punched it. I'm not here to sell you any monitors or TVs, but just as a disclaimer, don't punch your TVs. It's probably not going to turn out like this. You'd be insanely surprised how many places you can go without permission or paying, just by acting like you belong with some confidence. Yeah, I think this is because everyone is so used to there always being some kind of higher-ups that they're there for a reason. And if you walk in just like looking around or like looking very confused, or you're looking very suspicious, you tend to stand out and people are much more likely to come and stop you. Pretty much anyone who does programming. Yeah, my experience with programming has been very limited, but anytime anything works out, it's kind of a surprise. I went to a dirt track race in the middle of Illinois. My friend went to buy his own tickets. I walked up to the front gate and pulled out a Missouri Conservation Heritage card I bought for $2 to renew my turkey hunting tags. I walked up the front gate, drunk mind you, and said in a friendly but stern and confident voice, "Sir, this is my Missouri Conservation Heritage card." Gestured to the gate and followed up with, "I think this should be fine enough." He goes, "Missouri what?" Even more stern, "Missouri Department of Conservation Heritage card." Sir, it says right here." He just goes, "Oh, right. Department, Missouri, yes, right away, go on through." I said thanks and walked in. I think the confidence I showed, as if my card meant anything, let alone in another state, was enough for him to go, "Who cares, I'll just let him in." I saved like $7, but it was a fun story when my buddy asked how I got in before him. Hey, like the one before said, as long as you act official and confident enough, people will buy it. I polished tile floors with a propane buffer. We were unloading the machine from the van when wind slammed the door shut. The door hit the oil-filled tube and shattered it. Needed to find a way to fix it so we could do the jobs for the night. It was 2 in the morning and the only place that was open was Walmart. Walked around the hardware and automotive department for about 20 minutes trying to find something to fix it. Ended up with a pack of rubber feet for a bar stool, self-taping screws, and had a roll of universal metal strap in my toolbox. Plugged the hole with the rubber foot. It was tapered and fit perfectly. Then ran the metal strap over the foot and screwed it into the frame off the machine. Took a week to get a replacement part, and that held the whole time. Just couldn't check the oil for the week. Well, that is all of our wild stories of I can't believe that worked. You know, I think that my biggest story of something like this was this channel. Because back when it was like early, I think 2018, I was watching a whole bunch of Reddit channels just blowing up. And I mean, I had never had like a successful YouTube channel yet. And so I was like, maybe I'll just try this. And then I went from getting like 100 views a video to getting like 50,000 right away. Now, if only that could just happen again with this channel.